Orla's not in the camera. It's just me and Abby, so.
It's just still me and Connor on the camera.
It's not going
Orla.
down.
Am I going?
Yep.
UK travellers are still advised to check rules for their travel destinations, as rules may still be in place in these countries. However, this is great news for Britain, and it's just in time for people to jet away on their holidays for Easter and finally get some well-needed vitamin D.
Hello and welcome to your Half 3 programme. I'm Connor McCann.
And I'm Abby Titmus. Coming up in today's programme, Ellie Richards has been speaking to a humanitarian worker in Kyiv as the war in Ukraine has now been going on for a month.
Before you will see on your own eyes, before you will feel what does it mean to be bombed? What does it mean to see your beloved city destroyed? What does it mean to see your beloved one in the list of killed people? You will never understand.
As the cost of living crisis continues, will there be measures to assist the public? Fess Eager has more later on in the programme.
Is there something in particular that you really enjoy about coming here?
Yeah, the camaraderie really. They're very polite, nice. I don't feel uncomfortable at all. And I do at a lot of places. I'm a bit embarrassed sometimes.
I was down at Knit and Natter talking to members of the group about how important these schemes are.
Alexandra Matvichuk, the head of Centre for Civil Liberties Ukraine, is in Kiev providing humanitarian aid to civilians. She explains to our reporter Ali Richards what is happening on the ground.
Can you talk to me a little bit about your personal experience currently during this situation?
What situation? You mean war?
The Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Okay, I think that it's worth to start correctly name the things what they are. It's not situation, it's not Ukrainian crisis, it's not tragedy. It's Russian invasion to Ukraine. We work on several directions. We are very active on international advocacy. We documenting war crimes. We serve as logistical hub. We match people in need with different initiatives who can provide assistance in evacuation, medical care, humanitarian support, etc. And we do informational work.
What is the most beneficial for you guys over there right now? What can we be doing to support you?
For sure that ordinary people have much more power than they even imagine. And massive mobilization of ordinary people can change the situation. Because when you hear your Western politicians, you can have like perception that they do everything which it's necessity in this situation, that they provide Ukraine every support which we needed, but it's not true. We are very grateful for all kinds of support which we receive for current moment. But Russian deliberately shelling on residential building, on churches, on schools, on kindergarten, on hospitals. And we need air defense system and we need fighter planes in order to protect Ukrainian sky. So there are a lot of things which we expected from Western democracies to do, because now Ukraine is the forefront of the battle between autocracy and democracy. And now we are fighting not only for our country or for our people, we are fighting for the values of free world. Before you will see on your own eyes, before you will feel what does it mean to be bombed? What does it mean to see your beloved city destroyed? What does it mean to see your beloved one in the list of killed people? You will never understand.
Earlier this week, I went to Knit and Natter. They are a group based in Salford that meets weekly to put the world to right over a cup of tea and a pile of knitting. Nestled in the heart of Swinton is Knit and Natter, a club where people can get together, help the community and combat loneliness. The group is hosted every Tuesday at the Hive Wellbeing Hub from 10 until 12 and has a group of regular members who come together each week and put the world to right. One of these is Christine Brown.
The welcome I got here, you know, when I opened the door I was dead nervous and the butterflies, and the welcome that I got was lovely.
The importance of the group is apparent to Nicola Yeats, who runs the Hive. She told me about why these sorts of schemes are so beneficial to the people who come along.
I think over like the lockdown and everything, people have been left at home, they've lost touch with their friends, their family, and some of them are too frightened to go out in the community. So having groups like this builds their confidence.
According to data by Age UK, 1.9 million people in the older generation feel isolated or invisible. This is why groups such as Knit and Natter are so important to local communities, helping people get them out of their houses and socialising again. The work that the group does helps multiple projects in the area, like premature babies, but also other groups based at the Hive.
So we have a group on a Monday called Pause for Dementia, so we want to donate those to them, so it's kind of integrating the groups as well.
Is there something in particular that you really enjoy about coming here?
Yeah, the camaraderie really. They're very polite, nice. I don't feel uncomfortable at all, and I do at a lot of places. I'm a bit embarrassed sometimes, but and doing something I like, which is knitting.
The group has helped people like Edna and Christine find their feet after lockdown and become less isolated. They both believe that groups like this are necessary for local communities.
I think so, yeah. And people won't realise till they're actually there doing it how good it is.
Abby Titmus, Salford Now.
Rishi Sunak has announced during the government's spring statement yesterday measures that will reduce the cost of living crisis. It is said that the current level is the worst since records began in the 1950s. Faye Seeger has more.
The UK living standards are to fall at the fastest rate since the 1950s. This is due to the pandemic and the Ukraine and Russia war. The UK cost of living has pushed more than 1.3 million people into absolute poverty. I know many people in Greater Manchester are worried and even frightened about the increase in energy bills, and people have even taken to Twitter to express their views and are giving advice on how to be smarter with the money you have. One user said, with the cost of living increasing, you might want to consider taking financial literacy more seriously. With that being said, it will take until 2024 for adjusted living standards to return to their pre-pandemic level.
The final COVID restrictions will be lifted next Friday. Lateral flow tests will no longer be free for the majority of the population. Last Friday marked a shift in the travel restrictions for those flying out of England. Orla Holmes is in the studio to tell us more.
This week marks the first week that all travel restrictions have been lifted since the start of the pandemic. Salford travel agent Scott Hayden from Mark Bratt Travel spoke to me earlier on about what this means for Britain going forward.
So this is huge both for outbound travel operators like myself, because basically it means certainly the British part of the travel maze at the moment has been made a lot easier, but it's also huge for the inbound travel market. So you can imagine tourists coming into Britain, having to take tests on arrival, has been a big barrier to entry. So that's obviously great news for them and for, you know, the British hoteliers and all the other people that bring tourists to Britain. So this is huge both for outbound travel operators like myself, because basically it means certainly the British part of the travel maze at the moment has been made a lot easier, but it's also huge for the inbound travel market. So you can imagine tourists coming into Britain, having to take tests on arrival, has been a big barrier to entry. So that's obviously great news for them and for, you know, the British hoteliers and all the other people that bring tourists to Britain. Overall, a lot of the industry is now busy again, thankfully, and we are all delighted for that. But things are still taking a bit longer than they used to. And as I said, you know, there's lots of countries that are ahead of us or behind us on the curve of where they are with reopening. So you can imagine some countries where they're not open yet, a lot of their staff are still on their equivalent of furlough and stuff like that. So still a long way to go in terms of getting back to pre-pandemic, but this is certainly, particularly ahead of like the Easter holidays, this is a big step in the right direction, huge piece of positive news. And I think I think everyone can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
UK travellers are still advised to check rules for their travel destinations, as rules may still apply in place in these countries. However, this is great news for Britain, and it's just in time for people to jet away on their holidays for Easter and finally get some well-needed vitamin D.
Thanks for that, Orla. And is there anywhere you're going this summer?
I'm thinking of going to Ibiza, but I haven't booked anything yet.
Yeah, me too. Well, I'm going to go to Magaluf, I think. And what about yourself, Abby?
Not anywhere abroad, but I'm going up to Yorkshire in the Easter holidays.
All right, very good. You're staying at home?
Yeah.
And that's all for the show today. Thank you for watching.
Don't forget to keep up to date over on our Salford Now. Goodbye.